So with this week's Nightfall, we got the ability to farm the Plug 1 Fusion Rifle. This is a classic in Destiny and has seen many perk refreshes. I missed out on this one last episode, but I am really ecstatic to talk about it today. We have PvE and PvP sections. This is something I won't always do, but for Plug 1, it's a must here. So before we dive into the details, just want to say if you guys enjoy the content and want more from me, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell to be notified on when I drop more content. With that out the way, let's talk about Plug 1. So this ARC Fusion Rifle is in a very interesting place right now with the sandbox we are in Heresy. Specifically with the artifact in PvE. And for PvP, well, it's one of 4 fusions that can roll with that awesome perk called Closing Time. So let's bring up all the perks so we know what we're working with here. So here on screen is going to be all those perks. We are reading it from right to left and of course labeling it so you guys can follow. Now all the way to the right we have the origin traits for this weapon: Stunning Recovery and Vanguard's Vindication. Not really going to talk about it in grave detail, just know that they're both solid origin traits for Nightfall weapons. Now over in column 4 we have Reservoir Burst, Closing Time, Desperate Measures, Volt Shot, Kickstart, and Controlled Burst. Next to that in column 3 we have Under Pressure, Slideways, Lone Wolf, Feeding Frenzy, Reconstruction, and well, Rounded. And for magazines we have Accelerated Coils, Enhanced Battery, Ionized Battery, Liquid Coils, Particle Repeater, and Projection Fuse. Important reminder that there will be 2 versions of Plug 1, the base version and the Adept version. Both can be enhanced, and honestly the main difference here will be that the Adept version can have Adept mods, which can be a game changer if you are micromanaging some of those stats, but again we'll mention that a little bit later. Now for PvE, the God Roll will be an interesting one. As of now, the main PvE God Roll I would recommend is Arrowhead Break, Enhanced Battery, Reconstruction, and Reservoir Burst. For one, this is the only fusion rifle in the game with this combo, and based on the API, will be the only one until maybe the next expansion, but when it comes to Heresy, only fusion that will have this combo. It's a powerful combo even if a perk like Reconstruction got nerfed, which was a recent nerf. So for some clarity, Reconstruction reads like this: this weapon slowly reloads itself over time up to double capacity, and based on the community research, every 6 seconds while not firing the weapon, loads 10% of the magazine capacity rounded up into the magazine from reserves. Can overfill the magazine up to double the normal capacity, works even while stowed. Now this nerf was a serious one, and specifically they extended the duration of the refill. So it used to be at around 3 seconds, now it's every 6 seconds. A lot of this was due to the fact of rocket launchers with Reconstruction being so powerful, and unfortunately the Reconstruction nerf definitely hit every weapon differently. So on a machine gun, just don't use it. The time to utilize the max amount of Reconstruction just makes no sense for a machine gun. But for fusions, however, I think you can get around the pain to make it worth it. So a tip for this perk when using it would be make sure to always reload your base mag size. In the case of the God Roll, we will be at 8, so reaching up to 16 when Reconstruction fully overfills the magazine. It will take a minute to let this perk fully overfill your mag from 0, so just keep that in mind. And with a perk like Reservoir Burst, you don't want to do that. And Reservoir Burst is going to be a wild perk here. It reads like this: when the battery is full, your next burst deals additional damage and causes enemies to explode on death. And of course, based on the community research, passively grants 30% magazine size, identical to extended mag, while magazine is at or above maximum capacity, grants 25% increased damage and causes enemy to explode on death, dealing around 162.5 damage in a specific radius. So in the case of this God Roll, you will have 8 shots of Reservoir Burst, and that's kind of wild, honestly, especially with a perk like Particle Reconstruction in the artifact. Oh, and then you have Unstoppable Champ mod for fusions. It makes something like Plug 1 a monster for unstoppable champions. Now, if for some reason you try and fail to get this God Roll, switching something like Reservoir Burst for Controlled Burst is just as solid of a God Roll, just not as unique. Weapons like Axial Lacuna and Techian Force have this roll possible. Now, Axial Lacuna is solar while Plug 1 is arc, but Techion Force can use Envious Assassin instead of Reconstruction, which I think is a better perk than Reconstruction, and it's also an adaptive frame, making it a slightly faster firing fusion. But if you don't know, Controlled Burst reads like this: landing every shot in a burst grants this weapon increased damage and reduced charge time for a short duration, so upon scoring a kill or hitting every shot in a burst grants 20% increased damage and 10% decreased charge time for 2 seconds. This is a buff for every shot in the mag, not including the burst it takes to trigger controlled burst if you meet the requirements. And of course, in order to maintain controlled burst, you need to maintain hitting every shot in that burst. So yes, Reconstruction controlled burst is a solid God roll, just has some competition from other two fusions. Now with PvE out the way, let's talk about PvP. For one, I rarely use fusions in this mode, but a perk like closing time will always catch my attention. And on plug 1, it is awesome. So here on screen is the PvP God roll. We have polygonal rifling, particle repeater, under pressure, and closing time, and hopefully a charge time masterwork. So on this God roll, if you look at the stats, we have a lot of positives. Important note before I continue, this stat line is based on if you have one shot in the mag. Stability is max, handling is near 100, but it's 99, so close enough. And we are hitting the max damage range before damage fall off at 19.2 meters. Mind you, that this is just with closing time alone, and that's how wild this perk is. Now, if for some reason you have 2 shots in the mag, I do not believe you benefit from max closing time on range if you have more than 1 shot in your mag for special weapons, but the range falls off by 10, but the damage fall off is only going to be around 18.47 meters, again within that 1 meter radius, so nothing notable to the eye unless you play this game an insane amount and notice it with your own eyes. The only knock on this God roll is that something like Zealot's Reward can reach the same range fall off. Granted, since it's craftable, you would have to build into range more, and it's a rapid fire frame, meaning its charge time is 500 base instead of the 780 base from plug 1. The stability is the only thing that truly separates the two. Plug 1 having the advantage here, and oh yeah, of course, adept mods if you're using the adept version of plug 1 like I've been using. But yeah, both are solid. Zealot's Reward is definitely more user friendly, but plug 1 is not far behind in power, especially if you keep in mind and understand that charge time. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's pretty much the video. Curious to your thoughts on plug 1 as a whole. Now, the grandmaster it is tied to right now, at least this week, is not fun, specifically the heist battleground on Mars, but there are some ways to make it easier, so I guess it's not all too bad. Just make sure whoever you're playing with is aware of those tactics. Now, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop this video a like, helps out the video a ton. And of course, if you want more content from me, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell to be notified on when I drop more content. And as always, thank you guys for watching. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you guys have a good one. With that out the way, that's all I have to say on this one. ShadowNinja here, and I'm out.